Welcome to Daily Truths with Dave Ahlman.
Hi, everybody. I have a question for you this morning. Have you ever noticed that when we're in conflict with somebody, we borrow a lot of trouble? What I mean by that is sometimes we'll say, I wonder if that person's mad at me, or I wonder if I did something to offend them, or I wonder, they really did something that offended me. I wonder if they realize that. And when I make those kind of statements, my wife always says, and I love this, why don't you go ask them? What great advice. It sounds like Matthew 18, right? If there's an issue between you. Why don't we do that? Well, what we'd rather do, it seems like sometimes, maybe we'd not rather do it, but this is what we do. We hope the problem will go away. We just kind of slip it under the rug. We hope that if we don't address it, it'll just kind of fade into the woodwork and everything will be fine and they'll get over it and we'll get over it and we'll just press on and the conflict will remain, but there won't be any resolution. We'll just let it go and hopefully the problem will just go away. Does that work? Usually not. Now, Jesus talks about that in Matthew chapter 5, verses 25 and 26. This is what he says. Come to terms quickly with your accuser while you are going with him to court, lest your accuser hand you over to the judge, and the judge to the guard, and you be put in prison. Truly I say to you, you will never get out until you have paid the last penny. Now, obviously, this is the Roman government, and the judicial system in Rome wasn't very ethical. And really what Jesus was saying is, before you have to go to court with somebody, make sure, at least on your way to court, that you try to resolve it on your own. Because if you're submitted to the Roman court, chances are you won't get a fair trial and you'll be put in prison. That's what Jesus was saying. Now, the practical application is, even though our judicial system is hopefully a lot more ethical than it was in Rome, and I think it is because of the jury system, and back then they didn't have a jury system. What Jesus is saying is, if you have issues with someone else, especially a brother or sister in Christ, resolve it and do it immediately. Don't wait. Don't hope that somehow it'll go away. Don't try to slip it under the rug. Don't just try to ignore it and hopefully the problem will just dissolve itself. No. Jesus is saying, if you have an issue with someone else or they have an issue with you, before you get to the courtroom, work it out. Go to them immediately. And we talked the other day about what kind of questions you ask and how you come to terms and admitting your own fault and saying that, hey, this is how I've contributed to the problem, and not being so offensive and saying, you did this, you did that, but taking ownership of our own stuff and saying, here's how I contributed to this problem, and this is what we can do to rectify it. So what Jesus is saying here is, when you have an issue with somebody, go talk to them. What great advice. But it seems like, especially in America, we'd rather not do that because we don't want to offend anybody. And we just let these hard feelings muster and brew. And especially this happens in marriage, where people don't talk about the conflicts that they have, the issues that they have. They just hope they'll go away. And, as each issue is not addressed, this wall of separation separates husband from wife. And pretty soon the wall is so high and so deep and so impenetrable that they really can't resolve their issues because they did not resolve their issues one by one when they came up. So what Jesus is saying here is, if you have an issue with another person, whoever it is, whether it's a member of the church or a member of your family or your wife or husband or your kids, deal with it. Try to resolve it before it gets really bad and it's unresolvable, right? What great advice the Bible gives on issues like this. I want to tell you a couple examples where I've done this. A while back, I thought that I had done something that had upset my parents-in-law. And so I called them on the phone and I was making all kinds of assumptions that they were mad at me about something and I did something wrong and whatever. And you know what my wife said? Why don't you talk to them? So I did. I called them on the phone and they said, what? There's no issue at all. Everything's fine. No, you didn't offend us when you said that. We didn't even think anything about it. Now, had I not done that, I would have been thinking about it and maybe I offended them and I shouldn't have said this and would have taken me down a rabbit trail that I really didn't need to go. Here's what we're saying. When you have an issue, deal with it and deal with it as immediately as possible. So my friend, whoever you're at odds with right now, if you feel like there's a little wedge between you and another brother or sister in Christ or someone else who may not even be a believer, try to deal with it immediately. You'll sleep better. They will probably sleep better, and you can go to bed at peace. And that is today's Daily Truth. Have a great day in Jesus Christ.
Thank you for tuning in to Daily Truths with Dave Ahlman. If this ministry is blessing you, please consider supporting us by sharing this channel with a friend. You can also like, comment, subscribe, or leave a review. This helps us tremendously. Come back tomorrow for your next Daily Truth.